All eyes were really on, but one big question immediately popped into the minds of millions of ARMY. What really happened at Incheon airport when Jungkook and Taehyung stepped in together? There was no official announcement, no explanation, but the atmosphere created actually made many fans goosebumps involuntarily. At first it looks like an ordinary moment of departure. Airport crowds, camera flashes, and the faint sounds of fans calling their names. But in a matter of seconds, the atmosphere changed. Jungkook walked away with an expression that was hard to guess, while Taehyung looked calmer, but the look in his eyes seemed to hold something. Not a typical smile, not even the usual relaxed face. There was a quiet pause that felt strange, and the ARMY noticed it right away. Some fans noticed small, unusual details. Jungkook turned briefly towards Taehyung, then lowered her head again. Taehyung's gestures slowed for a moment, as if waiting or making sure of something. No excessive touching, no obvious interaction. That's exactly what makes this moment feel powerful. It was as if there was an unspoken message, but it was very palpable. Social media exploded instantly. Short clips from Incheon are played over and over again, analyzed frame by frame. Why does it feel different? Asked the ARMY. Some feel the atmosphere is too quiet for the size of the airport. Some admit that they get goosebumps just by looking at their gaze. Some even said, this is not just an ordinary departure. What makes this moment even more emotional is ignorance. No one knows what is behind that expression. Is this a short farewell? The beginning of something new? Or is it just a day when their emotions are not being able to hide? Precisely because there was no answer, the feeling felt even stronger. One thing is for sure, Jungkook and Taehyung's moment in Incheon was not an easy one to forget. Without a word, without explanation, they managed to make millions of the ARMY fall silent and wonder. Sometimes, what gives the most goosebumps is not what is obvious. It is what is almost revealed, but remains hidden behind a brief glance in the middle of the airport crowd. And the longer the footage is watched, the more feelings arise. Some soldiers admitted that they only realized their emotional vibrations after watching it for the second or third time. There is something subtle, barely noticeable, but noticeably pressing on the chest. Not a big drama, not a flashy surprise, but rather a silence that felt too deep to ignore. Comments after comments popping up, clashing with each other. Some interpreted the moment as a sign of emotional exhaustion. Others felt Jungkook and Taehyung were in a reflective phase that is rarely seen in public. Some even said that their expressions looked honest, as if the camera was no longer a hindrance. That's where a lot of ARMY felt touched, because for a moment, they saw a very human side. Interestingly, not a single exaggerated gesture can serve as definitive evidence. It is precisely such small details that provoke speculation. Slightly slowed footsteps. Clearly visible breathing. A brief look that was instantly interrupted. Trivial things that, if they happened on an ordinary day, would probably go unnoticed. But this time it was different. The atmosphere was heavy, and the ARMY felt it collectively. Many say this moment is like a pause in the middle of their long journey. It was as if time stopped for a moment at Incheon airport, making room for emotions that are usually neatly stored. There were no tears, no hugs. Yet precisely because of that, the impact was felt more deeply. It's like there's a story going on, but it's not ready to be shared. Until now, there have been no clarifications, no statements. And maybe it's not necessary, because sometimes the most powerful moments need no explanation. Jungkook and Taehyung were just walking through the airport, but what remained in ARMY's heart was warmth mixed with anxiety. The feeling that they had just witnessed something real, fragile, and very human. And that's why this moment in Incheon is constantly talked about. Not because of sensations, but because secretly, he touched the feelings of many people. A reminder that behind the camera and cheering fans, there are emotions that can't always be hidden. Something that may not have been said, but enough to give the ARMY millions of goosebumps. As time passed, the moment actually felt more alive. Not fade away, but continued to grow in the memory of the ARMY. Every time the clip reappeared on the timeline, there was always the same reaction. A moment of silence, then a long breath, as if everyone felt similar emotions. Many say, "I don't know why, but it feels sad and warm at the same time." Some soldiers began to associate this moment in Incheon with the long journey Jungkook and Taehyung had traveled together. From the trainee period, the big stage, laughter, fatigue, to the pressure that is never really seen clearly. At that airport, without dialogue and without stage highlights, it was as if all those layers appeared in their simplest form: honest facial expressions and body language. There are also those who feel that this moment is like a silent message. Not to the media, not to the world, but to fans who have been loyal to paying attention to the little things. The short gaze, the distance maintained, and the calm atmosphere just feel like a wordless recognition that not everything has to be explained to be felt. What makes it even stronger is the fact that this moment was not designed. No concept, no scenario. It all happened in the middle of Incheon Airport. Maybe that's why a lot of ARMY were touched, because what they saw was not an idol performing, but two humans walking through their day. To this day, the question still hangs. What exactly happened? Is there a story behind this silence? Or is it just nothing other than emotions that happen to be captured on camera? But for many soldiers, the answer is not the most important thing. The feeling left by that moment speaks enough. And perhaps therein lies its strength. A brief moment at Incheon Airport that did not explain anything clearly, but managed to make millions of people stop for a moment, get goosebumps, and feel something that is difficult to express in words. Sometimes what works best is not what is shouted out loud, but what is allowed to remain silent.